Hey everyone, this is Miguel here. I gave everybody else the week off, so today we have a special edition and we're going to dive into something very special, and that is how to book Lufthansa first class using points, miles, or cash. Let's get to the points. Guten Morgen from Germany. Today we are flying Lufthansa first class. I am about to get on my train to get to the airport, and I'm going to show you how you can book this yourself. Lufthansa first class is a bucket list experience for many travelers. The seats are comfortable, the dining options are good, the caviar is a nice touch, and of course, the free-flowing champagne is plentiful. However, aside from its top-notch service and exclusive amenities, one of my favorite reasons to book Lufthansa first class is its fairly unique ground experience. Lufthansa operates its own standalone terminal at its hub in Frankfurt. The exclusive first-class terminal allows first-class passengers to completely bypass the airport terminal. You literally don't even have to step foot inside the airport. First-class passengers can be dropped off at the first-class terminal and take care of all the formalities within the first-class terminal. They have their own in-house security, customs, duty-free store, and immigration station. And when it's time for your flight to depart, you'll be driven straight to the plane. I've been fortunate enough to have flown this a few times, and I want to show you how you can do it too. This is a flight that sells for about $10,000 round trip, but you can use a credit card points and a couple $100s. But don't worry if you don't have any credit card points. At the end of the video, I'm going to tell you how you can buy points and book this for less than $1,500 one way. But first, let's go over some basics. As of summer 2024, Lufthansa First Class is available on three types of aircraft: the Airbus A340-600, the Airbus A380-800, and the Boeing 747-8, also known as the Queen of the Skies. All of these aircraft have only 8 seats in first class. The Boeing 747's first class cabin is located in the nose of the plane in the main deck, which sits right below the cockpit. This provides an iconic one-of-a-kind experience, and Lufthansa operates more than half of the remaining 747s in commercial aviation. The Airbus A380 also has 2 decks, and the first class cabin sits in the upper deck. If you're flying with a companion and want to sit next to them, you may want to choose a route with the Airbus A380 or A340. Since the 747 only has 1 pair of seats that are connected. Lufthansa's North American first-class routes fly from Frankfurt to Boston, Chicago, Denver, Houston, LA, Mexico City, Miami, Newark, San Francisco, Seattle, and Washington, D.C. And from Munich to Boston, Chicago, LA, New York, Newark, and Washington, D.C. If Germany isn't your final destination within Europe, it may be possible to add a connecting flight onwards from Frankfurt or Munich for no additional cost, depending on award availability. It may also be possible to add a positioning flight from another US city if you don't live near one of Lufthansa's US gateways. But now, let me tell you about my experience when I flew this from Frankfurt to Mexico City. For this trip, I began my journey at the Mianal Hotel in Mainz, Germany. This is a new brand for the Hyatt hotels, and I wanted to check it out. Mainz is a nice little town about 30 minutes east of Frankfurt. It was a quick 5-minute walk over from my hotel over to the Mainz main station. I used one of the ticket vending machines to purchase my one-way ticket to the Frankfurt airport and paid €10.55. I used my Chase Sapphire Reserve card to earn 3x points on my train ticket. Like in most of Europe, public transportation in Germany is better than what we have in the US, though not as efficient as public transportation in Japan. I went downstairs to platform 5 Bravo and waited for my train. In true German fashion, my train was a few minutes late, no big deal as I had planned to arrive with plenty of time before my departure to the airport. The train ride was fairly short and reminded me of my time living in Germany when train rides were a common mode of transportation for me. I got off the train at the airport station and found my way over to Terminal 1. I'm at the Frankfurt airport. Here is the first class check-in, but this is not where you want to go. I'm at Terminal 1. We need to head downstairs to arrivals and then head outside. Once you exit at the arrivals level, you're gonna head outside and then turn left. And you'll see the first class terminal over there. It's about a 5 to 7 minute walk. You're gonna walk past all the taxis to the left side and you'll see it off to the left. So that only took me 5 minutes to walk over here. It was like 4, but this is the arrivals level. If you're coming by car, you can get dropped off up there, which is the departures level. But if you're walking, you come down here and you go in through this door. Get on the elevator right there to go up. Once you arrive at the Lufthansa first class terminal, they'll confirm your access with your boarding pass. To access the first class terminal, you'll need to fly either Lufthansa or Swiss first class that same day, or have arrived in first class to Frankfurt and are connecting to another destination out of Frankfurt and flying either Lufthansa, Swiss, or Austrian. You can also access it if you have top tier elite status in Lufthansa's Miles & More program and are flying in Lufthansa Group Airlines. After they confirm your access, you have an assistant help you out with everything.
The restaurant is over there. If you go straight the corridor, there's bathrooms and sleeping rooms. To your left is some work areas and relaxed chairs behind the wall. What I need from you now is your boarding cards, your passports. I will bring back your boarding cards in a minute and come with my colleague. And the passport's going to be sent downstairs. We have the police in-house. I will pick you up about 10:15 and bring you downstairs. We pick up the passports and the limousine takes you straight to the plane.
Okay, perfect. I always like to start my visit to the first class terminal at the bar, where they have over 130 different types of whiskey, amongst many other drinks. I started with a glass of champagne, and of course I couldn't forget to collect my rubber duck. The rubber ducks here are collectibles, and they rotate different versions that they have. Don't forget to ask for your rubber duck when you go. In the summer of 2024, they opened the World Shop and Duty Free store inside the first class terminal. So if you want to shop or grab some duty free items, you'll have access to that. I picked up a model airplane of the B747 that I was about to fly for about $25. After that, I went over to reserve a shower room. I made sure to ask for the one that has a tub because I wanted to soak in bubbles while drinking bubbles. After my bath, I went to the restaurant. All the food items are complimentary and you have the option for a buffet, or you could also order from a menu a la carte. Breakfast options from the menu include eggs made your way, omelets, eggs benedict, or pancakes. Lunch options from the menu included soup, burgers, schnitzels, beef fillet with mashed potatoes, and a sushi rice bowl. I opted for the buffet, and my options were chicken curry, fried rice, pierogi, and veal patties. I had a little bit of everything. They also had a special menu that day, and for dessert, they offered spaghetti ice. Spaghetti ice cream is a popular option that you'll find in gelato shops in Germany. It's just ice cream in the shape of spaghetti. Kind of weird, but it's delicious. After lunch, I went back to the bar and sampled a couple whiskeys. After a few of those, my assistant came to grab me because it was time to head to the plane. I went downstairs and waited for the immigration office to stamp my passport. For the car service, you might get lucky and get driven in a Porsche, but if there's more passengers, you might end up in a VW van, which is what happened to me on this flight. There were 3 other passengers in the first class terminal on my flight to Mexico City, so all 4 of us were driven to the plane in the van together. Once you get to the plane, the driver will escort you all the way until you board. The first class cabin was full on this flight. All 8 seats were taken, and I sat in 1 Alpha. I always try to choose row 1 because it's just cool to sit in the nose of the plane. I opted for champagne as my pre-departure beverage. On my flight, they served 2012 Lanson Leventage and a 2007 Laurent Perrier Alexandre Rosé. They had a few options for red and white wines along with many other spirits. I was also given warm nuts and a wet towel. In my seat, I found my amenity kit, pajamas, slippers, a blanket, and pillows. There are no overhead bins in the first class cabin, but each passenger has a dedicated locker with plenty of space. I threw my bag in my locker and went back to my seat. There's also more storage space in the ottoman. This seat is just massive. You have 4 windows all to yourself. Anyway, before I could finish my 3rd glass of champagne, we took off and I was ready for this 12-hour, almost 6,000-mile flight to Mexico City. They quickly started the meal service. The amuse-bouche was pike perch, a type of fish. After that, they brought out a basket with multiple types of bread. The Germans really love their bread. Next up was a caviar and vodka, which I enjoyed very much. I've really only had caviar when I'm flying first class. For appetizers, they brought out a sampler of pink roasted saddle of veal, lobster confit, Italian cream cheese burrata, and wild herb salad. I didn't get a soup this time, but there's always that option. For main courses, they offered steak, fish, chicken, and a vegetarian dish. I usually get steak, but this time I was influenced by one of my co-hosts, Serena, and I chose the fish. It turned out to be a great option. After my meal, I asked for the cheesecake for dessert, and just when I thought I was done, they offered me some chocolates. I couldn't decide which one to get, so she gave me one of each. If you get hungry throughout the flight, they have a menu for light meals that you can order at any time. Once I was done eating, the flight attendant made my bed, and I slept about 6 hours. I'm currently on board Lufthansa first class. I'm about an hour away from landing in Mexico City. Service was great, food was great. I got on board, I had plenty of champagne, I had dinner, and I probably had at least 6 hours of sleep or so. I woke up about an hour ago. I'm sad that it's almost over, but here it is. Cheers from Lufthansa first class. I wasn't really hungry when I woke up, so I just had a plate of fresh fruit. Plus, I wanted to make room for when I landed at Mexico City so I can go get plenty of tacos. Now, let's go over how you can book this flight yourself. Lufthansa offers one of my favorite first-class products, and I love visiting the first-class terminal in Frankfurt, and especially love flying the Boeing 747, the queen of the skies. Lufthansa is one of the few true first-class products that you can find for transatlantic flights. And if you're flexible with the dates that you can travel, you too can fly this. There are a few programs that you can use to book Lufthansa first class, but today we're going to concentrate on three. We're going to concentrate on Avianca Life Miles, Air Canada Aeroplan, and United Mileage Plus. Using Avianca Life Miles, you would need at least 87,000 miles. With Air Canada, you would need 90,000 miles or more depending on the route. And United Mileage Plus is the more expensive one and now requires 140,000 United miles to book Lufthansa first class. If you're looking for the best deal, Avianca Life Miles is the way to go. Their rates start at 87,000 miles for routes to the US and 92,000 miles for the route to Mexico City. Avianca Life Miles is a transfer partner of American Express, Capital One, Citi, Wells Fargo, and Bilt. So you have any of those points, you're able to transfer them into your Avianca Life Miles account. Another good thing about Avianca Life Miles is that they routinely have promotions when you buy their miles. So even if you don't have any of those credit card points, you're able to buy the miles and redeem them for this first class flight. The downside with Avianca Life Miles is that they don't always show award availability for these flights, and also customer service is not the best, so if you have any issues, you would have to call and deal with that. Next up, we have Air Canada Aeroplan, and they charge 90,000 or 100,000 miles depending on the distance of the route that you take. What's great about Air Canada Aeroplan is that you're able to add a stopover for only 5,000 extra points. Air Canada is a transfer partner of American Express, Chase, Capital One, and Bilt. So if you have any of those miles, you're able to transfer them into your Air Canada Aeroplan account to book this. Next up, we have United Mileage Plus. At 140,000 miles for a one-way, it's the most expensive option we have. But since it's a US-based carrier, I figure there's a lot of people out there with extra United miles, so this is a good option as well. And United is a transfer partner of Chase, so if you have Chase Ultimate Rewards points, you're able to transfer those directly into United. If you already have enough credit card points to book Lufthansa first class, all you need to do now is find award availability. Award availability is the seats that are bookable using points. Airlines only allow a certain number of seats per flight to be bookable with points. Okay, so I also mentioned that you could book this using cash, and that's because Avianca Life Miles and Air Canada Aeroplan routinely have promotions when you buy their miles. Sometimes they'll give you additional bonus miles or they have a discount on the miles that you purchase. If you're able to buy some of these miles during a promotional period and you find award availability for a date and a route that you're interested in, you will be able to buy the miles that you need for this flight to book it. Buying miles doesn't make sense most of the time, but if you run the math and you find award availability, it might make sense for you. But let me make it easier for you and run the math for you. In the past year, Avianca Life Miles has held 12 promotions, and those have ranged from earning 140% additional bonus miles when you buy miles, all the way up to 175%. Avianca Life Miles promotions have lasted anywhere from 4 to 16 days, and the range between promotions has been anywhere from 7 to 31 days. So what does this mean? This means that they had a promotion every month for the past year. Why is this important? That is because if you want to buy some Avianca Life Miles and there's not a current promotion running when you want to do it, just wait a month or less than a month, and there should be another promotion coming up for you to do it. Now let's talk about the prices. Avianca Life Miles have ranged anywhere from 1.2 to 1.38 cents per mile during these promotions. That means that if you needed to buy 87,000 miles to redeem for a first class flight, you would spend anywhere from $1,044 to $1,196 to buy the miles that you need for the promotion. You would still need to pay maybe up to a couple $100s in taxes, but that means out of pocket for buying the miles and doing the redemption and paying the taxes, you would be out of pocket $1,400, under $1,500 like I mentioned in the beginning of the video. Now let's move on to Air Canada Aeroplan. Air Canada has only held 9 promotions during the past year, and those have ranged from receiving an 80% bonus up to 125% bonus on miles purchased. Air Canada's promotion length have ranged anywhere from 3 to 28 days, and the time between promotions has been up to 55 days, so they're a lot less predictable as to when they're going to have the next promotion. Now let's talk about the prices for Air Canada points. Their sales have ranged anywhere from 1.11 to 1.77 cents. That means that if you had to purchase 100,000 points with Air Canada for this redemption, you would spend anywhere from about $1,100 all the way up to $1,700. So it's a lot less predictable into what you could pay with Air Canada. But if they have a good promotion that is closer to the 1.1 or 1.2 cents per point, it's probably a good idea to buy it if you want to do this redemption. I know there was a lot of information, so here's what you need to remember. If you want to buy Avianca Life Miles for a Lufthansa first class redemption, you should buy them when they have a promotion that's at least 140% bonus on miles purchased. That is going to keep your total out-of-pocket cost under $1,500. If you want to buy Air Canada points to redeem for Lufthansa first class, you should buy the Air Canada points when they're offering at least 85% bonus or more on their promotions. I mentioned earlier in the video that this flight sells for $10,000, but that's only the starting point. If you search from other cities, this flight can be up to $15,000 or $16,000 round trip. So if you're willing to pay $3,000 round trip, or maybe just one way $1,500, I mean, it's a pretty good deal even if you buy the points for this redemption. Now let's move on to searching for award availability for Lufthansa first class. Lufthansa first class was typically available to book within 15 days of the departure date, but really it's been more like 3 days before departure. So if you have that type of flexibility where you can leave within 2 or 3 days notice, then this is something you can do. So what I'll typically do is I'll book a backup flight, and if I'm able to book Lufthansa first class, I'll cancel the backup flight. If not, I take my backup flight, and that's what's worked for me. So you need a lot of patience and flexibility to be able to book this, but I promise you that it's worth it. I've also seen that some airports have more award availability than other airports. For example, Chicago and Mexico City routinely have a little bit more award availability than, say, LA or San Francisco, which is more rare to see those. So how can you search this? You can obviously search this using the United calendar. You can search this with Life Miles or with Air Canada. But by far, the easiest way to find Lufthansa first class award availability is using Seats.aero. Seats.aero is one of my favorite tools to look for award availability when I'm looking to redeem points or miles for flights. And they have a tool called the Lufthansa First Class Finder. Their Lufthansa First Class Finder will show everything that's available in Lufthansa First Class, all the routes. So you don't have to search every airport. It's going to show you everything that's available, and you decide whether one of those routes works for you. Once you find a date that works for you, what you want to do is go over to either Avianca Life Miles, United Mileage Plus, or Air Canada Aeroplan and confirm that that award seat is available there before you transfer any points or before you buy the points, and then that way you can book it. Since one of my favorite things about Lufthansa first class is the first class terminal there in Frankfurt, I like to depart from Frankfurt. I've also flown into Frankfurt, but I've added a connection out of there in order to access the first class terminal. For example, last year I flew Mexico City to Frankfurt and then on to London. So I had a 3 or 4 hour layover there, and I was able to access the first class terminal because I arrived in first class and then I was connecting on another Lufthansa flight out of there. But if you're only flying, say, Chicago to Frankfurt and that's your final destination, you won't have access to the first class terminal. So there you have it, a guide on booking Lufthansa first class with points, miles, or cash. Please let me know in the comments if you like this type of video. And if you've flown Lufthansa first class, or if you have any questions on how to book this, or any questions for me to follow up, please leave them down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you next Friday on Let's Get to the Points.